Hello, my name is Oliver. Today I'm going to tell you a story about hieroglyphs and cuneiform. The Egyptians were among the earliest people to use writing. Why do you think it's important to be able to write things down? Suppose I write a message for you on a piece of paper and put it on the table. Then I leave the room. If we look at the paper, we know that I want to say to you, even though I know we're around. That's one reason writing is important. Once the Egyptians learned to write things down, they could send messages from one part of the kingdom to another. What if you found my message a year after I wrote it? You're still able to hear my words, even though I'd have written them down long before. That's the second reason that writing is so important. The Egyptians could write down the important events that happened during their lifetimes and leave them for their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren to read. The Egyptians used pictures to write with. We call the pictures hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs. The pictures stood for certain words. The Egyptians used to carve these hieroglyphs into stone tablets. The stone tablets last for a very long time, but they were heavy to carry, and carving the pictures into stone took weeks to work. Another country near Egypt had a better idea. They carved their pictures into tablets of wet clay. This country was called Sumer. Sumer was in a fertile crescent between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The place between the rivers is called Mesopotamia. The word Mesopotamia means between two rivers. Do you know that the word hippopotamus means? Hippo means horse, and potamus means river. The hippopotamus is a river horse. And in Mesopotamia, we can see the word potamus again, only this time has a different ending. Potamia means rivers, and meso means between. The Sumerian picture writing was called cuneiform. Because the Sumerians lived between two rivers, they had plenty of damp clay. Instead of carving their cuneiforms onto stone, they would mold the clay into square tablets. Then, while the clay was still wet, they can use a sharp knife or stick to make the cuneiform marks. After the message was carved into clay, the Sumerians would either wipe out and write another message, if a message was something important, like a grocery list, or else bake into clay until it was hard. The message would last for a very long time. Is it an end? No. Writing clay is easier than carving stone, but even clay tablets can be heavy. And clay tablets are thick. If you want to store a whole lot of them, you need a lot of space. Poor beautiful rooms, and even a small library. After several hundred years, the Egyptians came up with an idea that was even better than clay. They learned how to make paper and ink. Egyptian paper was made from reeds that grew along the banks of the Nile. The Egyptians learned how to soften and mash them into a pulp. They would then spread the pulp out of dry and thin sheets. These sheets became reed paper, which the Egyptians called papyrus. It was much easier to write on paper than clay or stone. Paper was so easier to carry around. You can fold it up and put it in your pocket or roll it up into a scroll. Then paper took less room. When they started using paper, the Egyptians thought they had found the best way to keep records. But paper has a problem. When paper gets wet, the ink sometimes dissolves and paper falls apart. And paper will still start over apart over time. The older paper gets, the more likely is it to crack up and turn into dust. We know a lot about Egyptian history from times that Egyptians wrote on stone, because these stone writings had lasted of centuries from Egyptian days until now. We know a lot about Sumerian history too, because they take clay tablets that a long time if they've been baked hard. But we don't know a great deal about what happened to Egypt after the Egyptians started writing on paper, because thousands of years had gone by. The paper writings of the Egyptians have been crumbled or disappeared. Thank you for your attention.